As I pointed out, philosophy is a pretty commonly used word. It's one that just about everybody in the class has heard. I know we have some foreign-born people, some recent immigrants to the United States in the class, but even in their native tongue, they've probably heard the word philosophy. But what's interesting about philosophy is that most reasonably well-educated people don't know what philosophy is. It is what we talk about in philosophy classroom. Most reasonably well-educated people don't know that. So already this semester, you're going to be in a better position than most people who are reasonably well-educated. Now, oftentimes you hear people talk about philosophy and use it sort of in the same way as they use the word strategy. You watch the sports, let's say it's the football season, you hear the color commentators, the coaching philosophy, or his philosophy of quarterbacking, or in baseball, in basketball, in golf. They're always talking about the guy's philosophy, his strategy, what he's going to do. If you've ever looked at the business pages, done anything in commerce, tried to make a few bucks somewhere, people talk about their business strategy, their business philosophy. Well, my philosophy is to get the product to market as fast as possible. Or my philosophy, sometimes you hear it if you're listening to programs about the stock market, is to buy low and sell high. But now, we're not going to spend the semester talking about sports strategy, maybe you'd like to, or business strategy, and especially since we're talking about classical philosophy, or sometimes known as ancient Greek philosophy, we're not going to be speaking about that. And that's a perfectly legitimate use of the word philosophy, but that's not what we talk about it when we're in the classroom talking about this discussion. And another way that people use the word is they think that, philosophy is an attitude towards life. Philosophy's views, is viewing the bumps and bruises of one's life, in a calm, resigned, fatalistic attitude. And clearly, in Asia, in the Orient, there are schools of thought that advocate this kind of policy to take. And you might talk about taking things philosophically. But certainly that's not something we're going to be doing in the classroom. Perhaps it's something we could talk about it, but I don't know that I would have a lot to say about it. And finally, I want you to take a quick look. Following this, I'm going to give you a link to a YouTube. There's a movie some of you might have heard of, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And the segment we're going to look at is Bill and Ted Meet Socrates. It's a story about two students who are not quite doing so well in high school, trying to get a history paper together and graduate. They happen to be musicians, and they come across this time machine, which happens to be a phone booth. So watch very carefully when the YouTube starts. The clip from the movie will start. You'll see the phone booth, and you'll see one of their historical characters. I think it's Billy the Kid sitting there. But here we're going to see they take this time trip back to ancient Greece, and they meet one of the main characters in our story in this course, Socrates. So now turn to the next video in this series will be a link to in this playlist. Sorry, will be a link to this video. So take a look and see what you get out of this particular encounter and what they seem to think philosophy is.